Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. Oh, it looks like I have a little bit of a delay, but I'm excited for you all to join me here today. Welcome to Health is Wealth. We have a lovely show lined up for you today featuring our guests who are amazing warriors in this cannabis space. And I am so excited to talk today with them about cannabis use and being mothers and being advocates for their family and friends and what that means to their communities. And so, without further ado, these women really need no introduction. And they are I am going to bring up on the stage Miss Safita Artist Mills and Miss Thunder Walker. Hello, ladies. How are you today?
Doing
Perfect.
well. Happy to be here.
Oh, amazing. I'm so grateful that you could join me. Now, let me ask you real quick. Do you hear a delay from me?
I don't hear a delay right now.
Okay. Okay, perfect. It's just on my end. I'm going to keep talking then. Great. So let's go. Okay, great. All right. So, one of the things that I wanted to do was have you all introduce yourselves, please. Let our audience know who you are, what it is that you do, and then we'll get into all the details later. But if you could just give us a short briefing of kind of all of your titles that you hold and what it is that you do with the different organizations. Safita, we'll start with you.
Sure. So I am president and co-founder of the United Empowerment Party, which is a political party that is registered with the Federal Elections Commission, impacting policy and legislation on both a state and federal level, as well as being a Canna mom and a caregiver and, most serial entrepreneur. So really excited to be here and to talk about advocacy in this space, what it means to be a Canna mom and a caregiver, and also patient advocacy education, which is a space that I'm also in as well.
Thank you so much for that, Safita. And Thunder, could you please let us know who you are? Welcome to the show.
I'm Thunder Walker, and thank you for having me on. I am a cannabis appraiser. I have been in cannabis real estate for several years, and I actually am the founder of Proud Mary Cannabis, and then the Thunder Walker Experience, and also Women Pushing Dirt.
And we're going to find out more about that later. I'm so excited. All right. Both of you have one thing. You're both advocates. Yes, you're both entrepreneurs in this space, but you're also both moms. And I want to kind of get it kicked off and started with that. A good friend of M for MM and good friend of mine, Dr. Felicia, posted just the other day. She does a lot of research. She's an OBGYN doctor in Georgia, and she does a lot of research, that helps us to understand what's happening in the industry when it comes to these white papers. So if you're not familiar, white papers that the different organizations and networks or that medical associations put out based on research, right? That's how we find out and know that cancer and THC have a correlation, those kind of things. Well, one of these research papers recently, and she posted, said that despite cannabis legalization in some states, Black newborns continue to be drug tested more than white ones. And when you think about that, they get birthed at the same rate. In the same way that Black people in this country get arrested and are criminalized, some places 8 times more than their white counterparts. And so it's a similar correlation, right? Because when your baby gets taken away from you because they test positive, for cannabis or for THC in the hospital after you've just given birth to them, they criminalize you. They take your child away. You have to prove to them that you are a parent that can take care of their child because they have THC and cannabis in their system. And if this happens at a rate for Black women more than white women, it really is it's a problem. It's a pandemic. It's something that is systemic in our communities. And you, as women of color that are strong advocates for, as parents, as mothers, taking care of your children and family members, I really would like for you to share with our audience what that journey has been like. Tell us about your own personal experience, and any advice that you would want to give to women that are facing these similar challenges out there. Safida, we'll start with you. Sorry.
Okay. It's very challenging. It's very difficult, especially when you could never prepare for it. I can say that it's not something you're ever prepared for. Just going through the process and trying to navigate the healthcare system that's already broken, and then trying to understand when you're really hit head on with what these health disparities are and the difference between what we experience as Black women giving birth to children opposed to, white women or, any other woman who is not a woman of color. And so it's a hard reality. It's a very, very hard pill to swallow, because you hear about it and then you become that person that was on the outside looking in. Now you're in it. And so you have to try and figure out so many things while you're also fighting for,
your child, child.
Right. As you're also fighting for your child. And it just, even right now to this day, it's a lifelong process. And for me, just not knowing not knowing what was going on, not ever hearing of the condition that my daughter was born with, finding out before I had her, it was a lot. Like, I couldn't even really process it. You don't even have time to really grieve, because you're having to keep your mind intact, and you're having to do with so many things, deal with so many doctors, deal with so many questions. It's just overwhelming, because it's new. So now you have this huge learning curve to try to figure out what is going to be best for your child, to prepare yourself, prepare your family. You have children in school that you still have to make sure are okay. Then you can't work. Like, it's just so many things that pile up on you at once. And being an advocate in this space is really because of that reason, because I wish I would have known a lot of the things that I didn't know. So I try to educate other moms and just people in general of what this is, how critical it is, and why not knowing is very dangerous, because it's something that could be prevented if you have enough information, or that you can find out in time to where it's not detrimental to your child's health.
So what can you share with us? What was the diagnosis that your child was given before birth, and you knew that's something that you were going to have to manage? What was that diagnosis?
So she was diagnosed with what they call a critical congenital heart defect, which is a more severe, more rare type of heart defect. And it was called hypoplastic left heart syndrome. So what that means in layman's terms is that the left side of her heart did not fully develop, which is critical to getting oxygenated blood throughout the body. So she would need immediate heart surgery after she was born. And they said on a scale of 1 to 10, my daughter's was about a 9, because on top of being hypoplastic, she had something called mitral valve atresia and VSD, which is ventricular septal defect. So congenital heart disease is as common as it is. We're not told about it. That's the one birth defect that I know I've never heard any doctor explain, or even when we learn about Down syndrome and maybe even spina bifida or cleft palate, but you don't hear about congenital heart disease. And CHD, just, two statistics that stood out for me was that it is one of the most common birth defects, yet it's not talked about. And CHD, the mortality rate is higher than every pediatric cancer combined. So to
Mm.
know that that many children are dying from this and that there is no cure, but yet there's very, very little research dollars that go into finding a
Thank you.
cure. That's heartbreaking and that's shocking to me because why are more children not getting access to,
The resources, the treatment,
research,
all of
resources,
it, information,
all
the parents.
right. The information needs to be there, being that that many children are dying, and then understanding that Black children, the mortality rate is even higher.
Oh, wow. So, so are you saying that through statistics that Black children are diagnosed with this disease more than non-Black?
Not that they're diagnosed more, but
Okay.
the mortality rate is even higher.
Higher though for them. Got it.
Right, because of not early detection is important. Sometimes children are not diagnosed. Like I was blessed to be able to get diagnosed before she was born. There are some children who are born and they have a severe heart condition and they get home. So they don't even pick it up in the hospital. And then that child is home and they start turning blue or they stop breathing. And now they have literal minutes to try to get that child back to the hospital. And then they need emergency surgery. So there have been cases like that have happened. And I've talked to plenty mothers who have gone through that, where they're like, we didn't know until my child was born and they were discharged from the hospital, which is insane, but it does happen.
Right.
Which it goes along with being more intentional about how these doctors are, making sure that they take a closer look. And as a mom, how you can advocate being pregnant. I need you to make sure that,
You're
you
doing
take
these tests. Yeah. You got to have like a list of tests that you take.
there's a list of questions and things that you can
Right.
ask prior to, so that you know that you're not dealing with that situation, because it is literally a matter of life and death.
Literally. Thank you so much, Safida, for sharing your daughter's story. And Thunder, can you tell us about your challenges in helping to find the right treatment for your child? What did that look like? What's your child's story?
Well, my daughter's name is Pistol, and she came home looking like she was just going to be totally perfect. Everything was going to just go as normal, and we were really shocked around maybe 1.5 to 2 years old, where she started regressing, and she was diagnosed with severe autism, apraxia, and apraxia is like having a stroke, and it's where your brain will send the waves to your fingers, your hands, maybe your mouth, and but nothing happens. So she doesn't speak. She's nonverbal. She has hearing loss in her left ear. And so for me, I literally started buying her outfits for her to go to her doctor's appointments or for her therapist. She was not a normal child. Even though she looked normal, she was not a normal child. So society put additional pressure on her and me to perform in a certain way when she had no control over how she was able to manage her body, manage her senses. Her sensory input was just overload, to the point where she would want lights turned off in our home or in public places. So we had a birthday party and things like that. I was buying outfits to go to the therapist, to the speech therapist, to the occupational therapist. My whole life turned into those appointments, and she was treated differently, to the point in one of her schools, one of the largest Texas charter schools, she was not allowed to go into the lunchroom. So she was made to put in a 6x6 room with one aide all day until I found out about it. And they literally, because she had apraxia, she was not able to use her hands well. They literally, even though she was potty trained, they put her pants on backwards so she couldn't take them off to go to the restroom. And it ended up becoming very explosive, to the point where I was challenging the school district. I was wanting change. And I literally went up to the school, and I found her in this room, and I'm like, she doesn't go out for lunch. She doesn't go out for anything. And I found that out, and I asked to see copies of their badges. But when I asked to take pictures and copies of their badges, what I did not know at that point is that that could be considered assault, even though I didn't touch anybody. And so at that point, I was required to only access that I had to her in the school was I could only drop her off. I couldn't step outside of my car. So her father ended up having to be the one that would go to different things. We challenged the school district, and a lot of people would say, why didn't you just take her out? Why didn't you just change schools? But I kept changing schools, and I kept changing schools, and I kept having those same issues. So at that point, I wanted to take a stand and advocate for my daughter. And so she ended up developing a staph infection because they kept her in soiled clothes. And so I ended up doing a campaign where, since I couldn't step out on the ground without a police escort to the campus, they had their police escort me around to the campus. I had to change those things. I had to get other mothers involved. And at that point, I became an advocate for my child, and we changed up a lot of things in her life. And we were able to come to an agreement and a settlement and put her in a better school. But until you step up, until you change some things, until you say no, you end up going through this process. And what I did not want, I didn't want to just move her and the next child have that same experience. And so I wanted to go ahead and advocate for her. And that's how I feel like I got recruited, I'm going to say it in a nice way, to being a special education, special needs parent advocate for other children. And so now those statistics are very high for children of color.
Of course.
We get diagnosed less.
Right.
They always think it's a behavior issue. And
Right.
it's really, it's really something that turns into a challenge between what society believes that a Black child should perform and act like versus what their disability and label that they have, and how they can use that to get a understanding of their behavior. But they never, in my opinion, in my experience, look for the disability first. They always see an aggressive child. And in my case, they also saw an aggressive mother. And that's how it turned out for me.
So they're probably saying, oh, we see where she gets it from. And putting the blame on, trying to find blame instead of trying to find a solution. And something that sounds like it could be humane. It sounds like they weren't even treating her humanely, unfortunately. Wow, Thunder. So back to Safida, you have this diagnosis now, and you are you realize you get your child home. The mortality rate on this disease is very high, and so what are you doing, and how does that? Because you mentioned it before, you said you became an advocate, you became a part of this space because of her, and so how did that transition into you using cannabis or you using more natural therapeutics to help your child with her diagnosis?
Because I already was in the cannabis space, and I'm a research fanatic. So I'm going to, look for things. I'm going to Google, even though after the fact, the doctors told me, they didn't warn me prior. There's like, don't Google anything. I'm like, too late. I already scared myself half to death. So they tell you don't Google anything, but I said, okay, well, I'm going to look for solutions because I'm not a person that focuses on problems.
Right.
I know that it exists. Now my mind is always focused on finding a solution.
Right.
And I knew that the one thing, knowing beforehand, they kind of prepare you for it. And it's better to know because now you kind of have an understanding of what's going to happen next and what you can anticipate. So I knew that there was going to be a recovery process. I knew there was going to be, times where things were gonna be a lot harder on her because she was at least strong enough for me to be able to nurse her.
Oh,
but
good.
a lot of children don't get that because
Right.
they're not strong enough. And usually they're really weak. Their heart rate is really, really rapid when they have that kind of a heart condition. So their metabolism is really fast. They sweat a lot and they burn calories a lot faster. So she had to be on a specific type of diet where she had to have like a high calorie intake. And so it was really just trying to figure out what I would need to do as she got through this process. And really what got me into researching what I would need to do in terms of cannabis and how cannabis would help her is she had her first reconstructive heart surgery at 3 days old. And after that surgery, I knew she would have at least 2 more from what they told us, that she would have at least 3 surgeries before she turned 4 years old. So it was the second stage surgery that changed everything, because when they went to do the surgery, she was in early heart failure. So she had to be listed for a heart transplant, which completely changes the game, because now
Right.
you have to replace an organ, and then you have to worry about anti-rejection medications that they have to take, which severely suppresses their immune system. The first year is always the most aggressive.
Right.
So I watched her go through that process, knowing she was going to have to go through therapy. Everything she knew how to do before, like sitting up, holding her head up, trying to crawl, she couldn't even do those things anymore after her heart transplant. And she had to learn it all over again and build up her strength again. So I said, I don't want her to have to take all these medications. She had about maybe 7 or 8 that she had been taking, and it was really harsh on her. It was harsh on her digestive system. We knew that it could possibly cause cancer, one of them. And it was just a lot that
these pediatric drug that they had on the market for your daughter that just received a heart transplant. Blatantly says on the label that it can cause cancer.
Well, that's one of the side effects, that one of them can cause cancer. It's a rare type of cancer that's only found in transplant patients, called PTLD. And so for us, it wouldn't really be something that we couldn't fight through, but for someone who is immunocompromised, it could be fatal for them, especially if it's not caught at a certain time. And so knowing and understanding that, I was like, there's got to be something that I can do. I don't want her to take all these medications. She's a baby. She was only 5 months old when she was transplanted.
Wow.
So she went through physical therapy, occupational therapy every week. She had to go to the doctor 2 to 3 days every single week for about a month and a half, 2 months. So it was a lot of back and forth. And I'm just doing all this research, and then found that the University of South Carolina had done a study where they showed where cannabis helped to reduce the likelihood of organ rejection. That was mind blowing for me.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, why is it this widespread? Why isn't there further research to see how cannabinoids interact with the transplant patient to keep them out of rejection? Because really, that's the biggest risk for any transplant patient. We were told when she was transplanted that it's a possibility that she could need another organ in 10 years. She's 5 now. So that's always in the back of your mind to try to figure out what prior to keep them from even having to. And some children, it's less than 10 years. I've come across moms even recently where their children are now needing another organ, and they're not even 3 or 4 years into having their transplant. So knowing that, I said, I'm not asking for permission. I know what my daughter needs. And I also knew that most cardiac children have a really hard time eating. Their appetite is not good. That can land them in the hospital, because if they start losing weight, they'll admit them in the hospital. And then that's dangerous for them to be there, because then they can get exposed to something.
Absolutely.
In the hospital. So I started out with giving her CBD close to the time where she was around her 1 year mark of being transplanted. And I said, I'm going to figure out how to microdose her. And I started out with, a 0.5 milliliter once a day, then moved up to 1 milliliter. And then I started to give her 1 milliliter twice a day. And then introduced CBG about maybe a year and a half later, after introducing the CBD, understanding how CBG would be helpful in preventing the development of cancer.
Mhm.
So once I started to do that, and shout out to Lost Coast Wellness in California, Humboldt County, they provide all of my daughter's tinctures and they don't charge me a dime. They said as long as she is living and breathing, they will always make sure she has her medicine. And so I have been giving that to her, and slowly but surely, they just started taking away all her medications.
Yes.
She didn't need that anymore. So my daughter only takes one medication, and that is very, very rare for children like her. And her doctors all say she looks amazing. She's had 0 rejection in the almost 5 years. September 25th will make 5 years.
Yay!
So she
That's
has
amazing.
had no rejection. She's been doing amazing. She has a great appetite. She's growing and developing great. Even her neural development, when they said she may have developmental delays and all of those things, she only had to see a neurologist once. And after they saw her, they're like, she doesn't even need to see us anymore. They're like, we don't see any issues. And so it was just
amazing.
It was just a lot.
Beautiful.
Like I was just over the moon, just happy just to see her thrive. Like that's what this is about. This is why we fight so hard, for our kids, because the stigma, like we have to normalize
right
plant medicine and make it to where it's accessible for everyone, especially children. There's a lot of children that could benefit from
Absolutely.
this. And I just
instead
feel
of being
like,
on Ritalin, instead of being on causing drugs, it's so many. The list goes on and on, right?
Exactly. And they want to label it as a drug when I can literally show everyone how on my daughter's medicine has a yellow label that says, caution, hazardous drug. And I'm like, but you want me to give this to my child, and this is an actual drug, and you're telling me it's hazardous. And you or I, it could probably kill us if we took it, but it's okay for her to take it. Like,
it makes no sense. It makes no sense. And so Thunder, tell us a little bit more about Pistol, how she's doing, and kind of what how you approached using cannabis to help her with her rare autism diagnosis.
Well, so what I did was I was going through all these different therapies. They suggested different medications, things like that. And I went to her pediatrician, who was in the delivery room with her, had known her all her life. And I said, she doesn't know the letter A. She's not learning. There's, we're just kind of existing. And so I told him, I said, I want to try cannabis. We were in the state of Texas, and Texas has a compassion program that lists autism and several other disabilities as one of the reasons why you can try it. And even though it was legal based off of the compassion program, he said that he would never see her again if I did that. Well, yeah. And so me being me, I just said, well, bye. we gotta try something new, because it was important for her to be able to function. And so she went from having severe meltdowns, injuring herself, not being able to learn, to actually learning signs. So we're learning sign language now. We're actually learning how to skate. She's an avid skater. She's living the life of a 10-year-old with a disability, but a 10-year-old. She's actually had participated in the Special Olympics and has done really, really well with that. So there was this little girl up under all of these diagnoses that never was going to come out if I just kept layering medication on her.
That's right.
Prescription medication. And so once I found the compassion program and we started dosing her, microdosing her with THC, it just really, really worked for her. And she's doing much better. I heard her say for the first time at 10 years old, she'll be 11 in June, mommy. And so she's gaining those things back that she was losing when she was 1 year old. So she now has the language of maybe a 1-2 year old right now. She's trying to create words, and she's also signing. And so she can go to different events. She actually got a chance to go with her sister at Oklahoma State University to tour the college. So we're looking at big and bright and better things for Pistol instead of just doing therapies all the time. I'm looking at her having a real productive life. And it changes so many things when you decide to take the initiative to look into cannabis and seeing how it can help your child and also help yourself. But in doing so, I really had to do a lot of research. So that's the first step as a mom. You have to really, really research and know what you want to do so you can back it up, because you're going to hit so-called experts that's going to close the door in your face if you're not willing to know the knowledge.
That's right. That's right. Education is key. That's why M4MM, we have 10 national programs. Our programs are focused on education. We know how important it is to empower our communities with the right information, with accurate information. It's why we provide a platform like Health is Wealth. It's one of our national programs. We want to be able to bring our audience the expose our audience to people who are doing the work, people who are living the lives as patients, as caretakers, as medical professionals that are coloring outside of the lines. I hate that it's called alternative medicine. It should just be called the medicine. The alternative are the synthetic drugs that they invented thousands of years later. Like what we've been using, what our ancestors had been using for hundreds and hundreds of years, that's the actual medicine. That's what we should have access to. That's what should not be criminalized. That's what should not be demonized. There should not be women getting their children taken away from them because they chose to use cannabis instead of whatever synthetic medicines that they give you when you're feeling morning sickness, right? Whatever those pills are, versus putting cannabis flower in a tea and warm water and drinking that. So we have to start having these conversations and being open and honest about what it took, what were our challenges, but staying the course, because you know that you're right. Your ancestors are telling you, no, there's a better way to do this. And so for you ladies, as you now have children that are thriving, that are healing, because you chose to not listen to those closed doors, not listen to somebody telling you, I'm not going to have anything to do with you if you go this route and allow your child to use plant medicine. What advice would you give to mothers out there right now that might be facing a similar situation? Because the two diagnoses that you all have given us today are just a drop in the bucket. We've got childhood cancer. We've got epilepsy. The list goes on and on. All of the spectrum and range of autism, not just the rare one that your daughter has. There's so many diagnoses that affect children. ADHD, they tried to label me that when I was in school. They tried to put me on Ritalin. And because I had parents that were advocates and involved, my dad was a doctor, my mom was heavily involved with my care on a day-to-day basis, that they refused. They were like, no, that's not happening. Our child is not going on Ritalin. But I think about all of the children that did not have parents that were advocates, that did get that label, that did get put on Ritalin. And that label follows you for life. That's something that you don't realize either. But my parents had the foresight to say, no, that's not going to happen to our child. So can you share with us maybe one of your biggest challenges and the advice that you would give to mothers that are facing the same thing? Safita, we'll start with you, sis.
I would say the biggest challenge is finding the right allies sometimes, finding people who you can confide in and be able to say, well, this is something that I want to do. This is something that I've done research on, and it's really challenging and really is discouraging a lot of the time. So I think that for moms, my advice, definitely, don't give up, don't back down. You know what's best for your child. No one can tell you what's best for your child. You know your child more than anybody. And if you have doctors that understand that, they will say to you, listen, we don't know your child like you do. So if it's something, you say it's something, then it's something. So don't ever get discouraged when it comes to navigating this process. If you need to call them every other day, every other hour because you need answers, do that. Do not wait and say maybe it's nothing. If you feel something is off, something is not normal, make sure that you keep going until you find someone who's going to listen. Because as a mom who's the biggest advocate for your child, every children's hospital is interconnected. If you are attending a hospital where the doctors aren't listening, or you think that there needs to be a further look into what's going on with your child, then by all means get a second opinion. You actually can go online to another hospital and make the request, and they will actually coordinate that with the doctors where your child is currently going. And a lot of people don't know that because all of them work together. So if you can't find a solution somewhere, go somewhere else until you can find what is best for your child. Find people in the industry. There are pediatric doctors that are already working with families, that are already working with children. Find out who they are, reach out to them, or ask people if they can refer you to someone. Start to build your tribe. You have to build a support system. You're going to help. You're going to need support. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because you're going to need it. It doesn't matter what anybody tells you. I know for a fact, I'm one of those people, I'm a figure it out myself type person. And it took that experience to break that down. I was always that way. And then I realized I can't continue that way because I'm going to need help. I'm going to need support. So reach out, find your tribe. There's moms like me and Thunder that are out here that with open arms, we're ready to receive you and help you in any way that we can, because it's hard. And we know that some of you are going through this by yourself without someone there helping and supporting as a single parent. So that's what I would, recommend and suggest to all moms, and know that you do have people out here that's willing to help and support you so that you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah, thank you for that. There's a tribe out here. Reach out to She's So Brooklyn without the double O's in Brooklyn. I've got her information scrolling at the bottom there. She's saying that she's part of your tribe. Thunder, can you share with us what advice would you give to moms right now that might be facing a similar situation?
Well, everything Safita said is right on point, but I want to add that you're not the first. That's the thing that I had to understand. I was not the first to experience what I was experiencing. All the way back to when my daughter was locked in a room and not being able to go into the lunchroom. It reminded me of the historical event of when a little girl was trying to integrate into school. And so it reminded me of that story. So I started looking at those moms and what they had to go through. And, that's where I found my strength. But as strong as we think we are as mothers, the other thing that I would say to you is that you got to take a break. You got to understand respite care. You got to be able to say, yes, I love this child and I'm going to keep this child safe. But if I'm not here, who will keep this child safe? So you have to take a break. So everything that Safita said is on point. But let me just add to you, your self-care, your wellness is so important as a mom. So let somebody spend an hour with that child so you can take a break and be refreshed, because this is a long marathon. This is not something that's going to stop at 18. It's a long, long marathon. So that would be my suggestion, just to add to what she said.
Yes.
Thank you for that great advice. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You are your child's caretaker for life, depending on what the development looks like, and how long that takes. But I'm 42 years old, and I will always be, I'm my mom's firstborn. And it was a blessing that I got to go and take care of her this past month while she was recovering, because she's always been there for me. When I got diagnosed with HIV, we packed up my apartment. I moved out of Atlanta, moved right back home. And I didn't have to worry about anything. I didn't have to worry about how I was gonna eat. I didn't have to worry about working. She just wanted me to heal. And so I was able to return that favor to her. It was a blessing to be able to help her recover using plant medicine, getting her off the prescription drugs to help her manage her pain after total knee replacement surgery. So I understand. I feel it. I'm not a mother, but I stand with you mothers who are brave enough and bold enough to know the truth, know your child, know what's best for your child, and go against the grain. I mean, in some places you're having to commit a crime. I know plenty of mothers in the state of Georgia that have gotten DFACs called on them, had their children taken away from them because they were using plant medicine versus the prescription medications that were given. Shout out to Jessica Reed. She's an advocate and lobbyist in Georgia fighting for her son, Emmanuel. I just want to shout them out. But let's get back to your purpose. Now, how this drove your purpose and what you're doing right now and how you are impacting the cannabis industry. So I know that you all have started and become a part of some amazing organizations and businesses. And so we'll start with you, Safida. Share with us more information about your organization and what you do.
Yes, so United Empowerment Party, of course, is a political party. So there's so many politics that surrounds cannabis. And we felt that creating a political party that can impact policy and legislation, and even when it comes to how cannabis is being regulated in every legal market, and addressing all of the things that no one wants to talk about, the elephant in the room that nobody wants to address, like restorative justice and how cannabis was weaponized against specific groups of people, and how it continues to be that way, even being legal, where businesses are not even able to survive and sustain themselves because of these rules that are being made, and because of it kind of being an illegal and legal industry at the same time, which makes it almost impossible to navigate. So being a part of a political party that is focused on strictly cannabis and all the things that cannabis touches, yes. We felt that it was a need. There was no way to really impact the industry if you're not going to impact it in a way where you can get to the decision makers. And right. Instead of waiting for someone to ask you to, if you want to sit at their table, or begging for an opportunity to sit at their table, we created our own so that then we can decide who we sit down with, who we talk to, who we can impact in a way to where we can help them understand better what this is, what cannabis is and what it isn't, as well as what needs to change, because there are things in place right now that does not help the industry. It hinders the industry. And we're actually in some ways seeing things go backwards because of the way that these laws are being written, the way that it's being regulated, and how there's so much push even against social equity, just defining what it is, and who's eligible, what that means, how does that impact a community, and how are you making sure that the people who were disproportionately impacted are getting an equal opportunity in the space. And we're seeing so much controversy around that because there are those who feel that social equity isn't fair, and it's so much conversation around it, which drives the politics. That's and right. You have people making decisions about an industry that they don't know anything about, and a plant that they don't know about.
Consume.
Right. So we felt that, creating this party was just the beginning of making sure that elected officials are held accountable to what they promise. We see a lot of them using cannabis as a platform to get elected. So it shows us what our power is and what we can do collectively as a community in making sure that the right policy is written, that regulations are fair, and that it does help to build a strong foundation and a cohesive ecosystem for this industry to thrive, because we're seeing a generational wealth transfer happen, but it can't happen if you have people that are stopping and hindering the progress, because there's so much progression that could be happening in the industry, and we're not seeing that happen. So we have to get to the ones that are making the decisions. It's great to rally. It's great to, get together and have different events and network and all of those things. But where the most attention and focus is needed is lobbying and getting to those people that are making sure that that everything is fair and that the rules that are being made are not being made to fit specific agendas of those who have a personal interest, like big pharma, alcohol, big tobacco. We know.
Let's not forget about the big prison system. Okay.
No, I was getting there. Because you're also seeing
play a role too.
Private prisons that make a lot of money off of people being incarcerated, and cannabis was used as a massive tool for mass incarceration. So they're losing money. So each of these industries, the prison system, alcohol, tobacco, big pharma, they're losing money. You're seeing less people smoking cigarettes, less people consuming alcohol. You can go and find that these are facts. So why wouldn't they want to come in and either take over and control the majority of the industry or try to hinder and stop it because it's impacting their money? So there's so many politics that surround this industry that we felt we needed to get involved. You can't just sit on the sidelines anymore. And as much as we say, oh, I don't do politics, I don't like politics, you're not going to change anything by spectating. So you might as well jump in and get
in the fight.
And and fight and not be segregated to any one side. We all have a responsibility to make sure that this industry progresses in a way that is going to be able to benefit everyone involved, where it's going to impact communities, and where we can kick the doors wide open to research and development to help more people and to help people live a better and the best quality of life, because that's what it should be about. Everybody has the right to live the best quality of life, and cannabis helps so many people do just that. So we have all these politics around cannabis. It's not going to help us get that closer to that being the goal. So that's why we're here. And as always, we welcome everybody. We need all hands on deck, and we need to make sure that that point is being driven.
Thank you for that, Safida. Thank you for the work that UEP is doing. And so Thunder, can you share with us, you're a licensed operator, you got many titles, sis. So run it down for us. Run it down. What do you do? What is the work that you do, and how that has impacted your advocacy work as well for your daughter?
Well, let me just say this. The cannabis space, even though it's a large space, it's a small community too. So what I realized when I first got into this, from switching from the legacy market into the legal market, is that my background in real estate was going to help a lot of people. And so I truly go out and usher people into the space to try to cross-pollinate what they currently do into the cannabis industry. So if they're an accountant, I try to teach them how to move that into the cannabis space. So anyway, I actually do coaching, consulting. I just launched the Thunder Walker Experience. So if you're not able to get out to some of these different events, I try to bring you in person to these events, interview people, talk to people, show you what these events are about, because the people that are making these decisions, the lawmakers, I was in Hawaii a couple of months ago, they were making decisions about things that they had no clue about. They didn't know the difference between Delta-8 and THC and all these different things. And of course, people that did not want things to pass, they were there testifying about how horrible cannabis was. And I'm sitting there as an advocate and also as a lobbyist saying, no, that's not the truth. But we won't be able to tell people the truth unless we have things like this. People tune in to talk to other people and just take a peek, be nosy, okay? Be nosy and check it out. And so I just really feel like a Paul Revere of the cannabis space. I love the plant. So I touch the plant, I teach the plant, I use the plant. Yes. It is my friend. And so, and so that kind of, yes. And so that's how I encompass the whole plant and cannabis and the industry and politics, housing. It's so much that we can do with this plant and hemp. So I try to do everything I possibly can to make sure that the general public understands what cannabis is about.
And so tell us about Women Pushing Dirt. What is that? Tell us about that.
Oh my God. Women Pushing Dirt, we cover real estate and construction in all spaces of women actually creating businesses through real estate. And real estate is the dirt. So cannabis, construction, and real estate. So there are women out there that are building hotels. If you go into the AMC theater, there's a woman that built the theater. That's her job. She goes around to the entire country building theaters and hotels and different buildings. And there's women climbing on poles and creating this whole technology wireless thing out here. And we're doing so many different things that we didn't do before. There's women plumbers, electricians, everything. And I wanted to tell their story, and Women Pushing Dirt does exactly that. Check it out. We have the Urban Legends, where we talk to women that are building tiny homes for veterans across the country. And we just want people to know, right, we just want you to know that the sky is not the limit. We can go further as women. We can do anything that anyone else does. So that's what Women Pushing Dirt is.
And so tell us really quick, how do we find Proud Mary Botanicals? Where do we find it in Oklahoma? You are a licensed operator in Oklahoma, correct? Yeah,
yes, I'm licensed. I'm licensed in Oklahoma. We are located on 2410 North Robinson, right next to the Blue Note. And Oklahoma is a medical marijuana state. Right. But we also have the botanical side, which is the CBD, the Delta 8, and all of those products for wellness. So, and we also have funk therapy on Wednesday night, guys. And you can tune in virtually too, where we teach you how to sage yourself, sage your home, crystal bridge your home. We're all about lifting your vibrations and your spirit up.
I love it.
In April. Thank you. So those are some of the things that I do to make sure that people understand what cannabis is about. You can find me all across the nation speaking on cannabis.
Awesome. Ladies, man, today went by so fast. So much information, so many gems that were dropped. I so appreciate you both. Thunder, thank you again. Thunder is joining our M4MM family, helping out in Oklahoma, and she will be on the ground in Texas. We'll see her speaking.
In my boots.
In her boots. We'll see her speaking at CannaCon next week in Oklahoma City. So if you're around, folks, we're going to be at booth number 39. Please join us. Thunder is going to be stopping by our booth as well. We'll have our state director, Shalon Youngblood, joining her there as well. So if you're in Oklahoma City, the 31st and April 1st, next Friday and Saturday, please stop in through Oklahoma City, their convention center. They're going to be hosting CannaCon in Oklahoma City. Remember, we were there last year. Safita Man was our special guest at our Dice Mixer last year. I think that's where I met you, Thunder. I think that was the first time I met you was at CannaCon last year. So full circle, so great to have you on the show, have you be a part of our M4MM family. I know that you're going to do amazing things in Texas and helping us out on the ground in Oklahoma. So thank you for being willing, being patient with us, and joining our family to help us with the work. You know, our state directors are volunteers, folks. If this is something that you're passionate about, if you're passionate about this industry, you're passionate about making a difference, speaking to your legislators, learning how you can affect change on the ground in your home state, then reach out to us. M4MM, we have a freemium membership level. You can join for free and become a part of our organization. And if you're passionate like these women here, then you can be a leader in your state for our organization as well. And so we welcome that. And anybody can be a part of our organization. It's not limited to being a woman or being Black or brown. It's everybody who wants to see a diverse and inclusive industry. So before we go, ladies, can you share with us what is the best way to reach you? I know I've had your Instagram down here, but I know that a lot of people would like to reach out to you after the information that you all gave us today. And so, Safita, what is the best way to reach you, and any last words you'd like to share with our audience today?
You can reach me at She's So Brooklyn. That's She's So BRKLYN on IG. Same thing on Twitter, even though I'm not on there a lot. But but I am definitely around, and you also can join in. Go to unitedempowermentparty.org and submit information about how you would like to support and participate. And last comments, I would like to say, just kind of circling back to something that Thunder said earlier that really resonates with me. All special needs are not the same. And I want people to take that into consideration and understand what invisible disease looks like. Just because a child looks normal or anyone looks normal on the outside, or people always get, but they look fine. They look like nothing's wrong, but not understanding that there's a lot going on that you don't see. So even when it comes to disabilities, everybody's disability is not visible. So be mindful and aware of that, especially, you know, just navigating the world and understanding that people don't realize that. So just be cognizant of that, and just all special needs require different things and they don't all look the same.
That's right. Thank you for those for those enlightening words. Thank you for that, Safida. And Thunder, how can we find you, and what are some parting words that you want to give to our audience today?
Well, what I want to just really say is that I appreciate the time for those that tune in or that listen to it later on in their free time. Spend time understanding that you're not by yourself, and that you can make a difference. When I first got into the cannabis space, you know, I was more of a recreational user. And so once I realized, but through education, what this plant could do, it changed my whole life. And I think it would change yours too if you just take the time to spend some time with someone that's in the industry. So for the newbies out there, that's what I want to tell you. Also, I am the director of the Women Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. I want to talk about that just a little bit, because funding for women is very, very low when you get into this industry. But what I can tell you is that if you are a mom with a special needs child, or just a mom in general, and you need to have freedom and you need to have control of your time, and you still need to make money, this is something that you can do. You can step in and cross-pollinate your current career with cannabis, and the freedom that you'll have to spend time with your children and direct your life will be amazing. And freedom costs something. So you may not be making exactly what you're currently making, but it can change your life so you can have some free and wellness time with your children. So I wanted to add that. And so you can definitely find me on IG. I am Thunder Walker. Check out the thunderwalkerexperience.com and womenpushingdirt.com. I look forward to helping you in any venture that you want to have with the plant and in the space.
Ladies, thank you so much. Thank you for those gems. Really appreciate your time today. I'm going to let you go on and have a fantastic Saturday. And thank you again. I look forward to crossing your paths along all of the work that we do. Hopefully I'll see you in DC next month, Safida, for a National Cannabis Festival and our federal lobby days. Same with you, Thunder. I look forward to seeing you soon. I won't see you in Oklahoma this trip, but I will be seeing you soon, sis. So everyone take care. Enjoy your day. Thank you again to everyone that joined us. We really appreciate you taking the time today to learn more from these amazing moms and weed warriors, I like to call them. Enjoy your Saturdays, ladies. Thanks again for joining us today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, if you want to learn more, please visit us at our website. We have a freemium membership. Email us. Let us know what you thought about the show. Share and like these with your friends and family. Enjoy your Saturday. We'll see you next month for our 420 special, probably broadcasting live from somewhere, one of our adventures. But thanks again. Right now, we're registering people for our lobby days, our federal lobby days. If you're interested in joining us for lobby day, please email me, Nicole, at m4mmunited.org, or visit our website or email us at m4mmunited@gmail.com. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great one. Take care.